NASCAR races typically last anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. 2-hour races are considered short tracks, while 4 hours events are considered superspeedways. Superspeedway events, such as the Daytona 500, often consist of around 200 laps, making them the longest of the NASCAR races. However, the shorter events in the Middle East and Canada typically last less than 2 hours due to the shorter distances being traveled. NASCAR also has a variety of specialized races, such as endurance races, which can last up to 7 hours. On average, the length of a NASCAR race can vary between a few minutes to several hours, depending on the track, the type of event and the conditions of the race. Although NASCAR does not set a strict time limit on their races, most events last between 2 to 4 hours. Typically, smaller tracks feature qualifying laps and short races, while superspeedway tracks offer longer, more level racing events. While time limits are typically set, NASCAR does mandate a certain amount of additional time to be taken into consideration. Depending on the size of the track and the surrounding weather conditions, a NASCAR race may take anywhere from 1.5 to 4 hours. The larger tracks, such as Daytona International Speedway, typically average around 2.5 to 3 hours. With NASCAR's new TV contracts, there is increasingly more time allocated for the races, leading to races potentially taking as long as 4.5 hours. Races can also be longer if the conditions are bad or if there are more incidents during the race. As a precaution, NASCAR requires all cars to be in top condition before any race and inspects every vehicle before and after the race. Drivers are allowed to refuel during a race, however, this takes additional time and can extend the length of the race. As a result, NASCAR is constantly modifying their rules in order to ensure that races last no longer than 4 hours. NASCAR also constantly adds a few additional minutes whenever a caution flag is waved, in order to avoid any dangerous situations. After the conclusion of the race, NASCAR officials also review any replays and discuss any issues that may have occurred during the race in order to ensure safety. In order to keep races safe and exciting, NASCAR has created a schedule that combines a mix of short and long races. The longer races feature more laps and more intense competition, while the shorter races are designed to keep the action exciting for shorter periods of time. Longer races also require the drivers to concentrate and employ greater skill in order to succeed in the event. As a result, NASCAR has been able to create some of the most dramatic and intense races in sports. NASCAR is also creating new rules in order to make races even more interesting for fans and to ensure safety for drivers. In 2020, NASCAR announced they will be introducing new rules regarding the frequency of restarting the race in order to keep the races interesting and action-packed. Races in NASCAR are staggered according to the distances the cars will travel, which makes the event last longer or shorter depending on track length. NASCAR events can usually last up to 5 hours, as they now include practice and qualifying laps, fuel stops, and other contingencies.